Hey everyone, Chris here, and in today's video we will be covering a theory I have regarding the faction mentioned at the end of the cassette tapes, and really trying to answer the question of who is Ark. Before I continue, here is a spoiler warning for the story of Vigor Chronicles Vengeance and the cassettes, the story that it tells. If you haven't heard the complete story yet and you want to, I have a link to the complete audio in the description. And if you don't want to have it spoiled and you really just want to get through the battle pass and get the story exposed to you on your own pace, perfectly understandable, but I would suggest clicking off now because I will spoil that story throughout this video. Alrighty, so let's get into this. Ark is the name of the faction that Adam joins at the end of the cassettes. So what do we know about this faction? Well, first let's consider what that very cassette tells us about their goals. First, we know one of their goals is to rebuild the world. We know this since Adam, when he is ranting at the end of tape 10, states, "I will try to rebuild the world, like we always wanted." He's ranting to the dead Helga, really, in a way. The tape is addressed to his lost lover, and it is only natural to assume that if, his goals are to achieve the dream that him and Helga wanted, then that would also be the goals of Ark, since he really heavily identifies with being part of Ark. But following his message to Helga, he sends a message out to all Outlanders, a message that they referring Ark, cannot be bribed and are resolute in their decision to follow their goals, which is to rebuild humanity. Meaning that Ark will do anything it has to do to try and reestablish society and will not be willing to compromise with any other possible factions. This small amount of characterization is what we have regarding Ark in the cassette. So this clearly characterizes them as a faction of good with the motive to restore humanity and to destroy all those who wish to hold humanity back. So I would say it's safe to say that Ark are going to be the good guys in the narrative, at least for this season. So from there, we can move on from the motives of the whole faction to specifically Ada. Ada has long been a point of debate within the lore scene, but from her characterization here, we at least for now can assume that she's a good character whose motives are focused around the restoration of humanity, since if Ark's goals are to restore humanity and she's the leader of Ark, we can kind of assume their goals are connected. But it's less her characterization and more so her involvement with Ark and its implications that I'd like to talk about here, really regarding the faction's power. Warning, from here on out, we are pretty deep into speculation territory now. Ada is the one who gives us our daily challenges, and is speculated to be the one behind the airdrops, the oil rig, and the food donation system, portraying her as one of the strongest characters influence-wise that we know of in the lore. And if you'd like to know more about how we came to those conclusions in the past, I will have a video linking it all being explained in the description below. But long story short, Ada is powerful and seemingly has connections to the remains and remnants of the NATO allied armies, so the United States, the UK, and the allied Norwegian government. If this is true, then Ark could be the official name of the NATO remnants, which would put them as a very powerful faction in the Outlands. This portrayal also makes sense considering how coordinated the team that rescues Adam is. That level of coordination would require proper military training that these remnants would have. It would also vaguely make sense with how we've seen the NATO forces being portrayed in the lore, with them more so being on the side that, they're the side that's giving you airdrops, they're the side that is being more nice to you, more supportive of you, the player. So it would make sense that these NATO remnants, who are now reorganized into Ark, would be a faction that would want the restoration of humanity or the restoration of the pre-war governments that they once served. This portrayal also makes sense, really, considering that in the lore, this would set up a very powerful faction with noble goals that is really going to be the first faction we've ever seen having any portrayal in the post-war scene. Really, as most post-war factions that we've been introduced to seem to not be organized, not be powerful, and really not have any centered goals. I'm very curious to see how this will all play out in the future and what this means for the greater lore scene. And I'm pretty confident that from here on out, the devs are starting to seemingly build the building blocks of the greater story of post-war Norway, which is something I'm excited for. But if you're excited for it as well, then make sure you hit subscribe, and I love when you guys drop comments. I love hearing your guys' thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little theory and really summary of what we know about Ark and what it possibly could mean for the future. This has been Chris Beast, and I hope to see you all next time.